a sermon title. I wasn't sure if I made one or not. Y'all kept me so busy this week. I'm sure. It was a great week. Really was. Resurrection Promise. I thought about the title, and I was going to call it The Empty Tomb, and I thought, oh, that sounds kind of like a bummer. So it kind of sounds like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or I don't know, one of those things that young people watch where bodies get stolen and all that good stuff. But Resurrection Promise. Wow. Promise. Friday night, if you were here, we listened to the 7 last words of Christ from the cross, and had 7 people from our congregation share their stories of how one of those words spoke to them. As always, it was an incredibly moving service. And we printed at the bottom of the bulletin, please leave quietly for those who are still praying, but I don't think we needed to print that at all because everybody left quietly for those still praying. And on Friday night when we left, the tomb was about to be filled. This morning I got up early, only because Mary made me. But Noah had to go out. And so I left Noah out in the dark. And I looked up at the sky in the dark, and I saw what was left of the moon and the stars, and it was still incredibly dark outside. And I thought, how this must have been the darkness that Mary of Magdala must have felt, must have run through to get to the tomb of this incredible individual she had known for a few years. To get there, to find the stone or boulder rolled away from the opening, to find the tomb empty. So she left and went and got the guys, Peter and the unnamed one. Not sure who that is. We have some suspicions. We don't know for sure. And they raced toward the tomb. And the other disciple outraced Peter. And Friday night, our Peter said that he knew what it was like to be Peter. Yesterday at Pride, when I was trying to run to catch up to the car to get more beads, I knew what it was like to be outrun by all those people 40 years younger than me. But the really neat thing about it was a whole bunch of young folks that were behind the barricades all put their hands out so that I went by, I could slap them and they could touch me and I could keep going until I passed out. It does keep one going. Another's touch does keep one going, and so I bring that to you because I think that's important. So they get to the tomb, and Peter goes inside. They find the linens folded and rolled up. So they knew it wasn't a version of the body snatchers because they would have probably taken them clothing and all. And Peter leaves. And we don't know what he's thinking, what he experienced, really anything other than what he physically saw. But the other disciple sees and believes. And then he leaves too. And Mary stays. And she weeps. As so many of us were brought to tears Friday night. She weeps. As so many of us have experienced this Lent and before this Lent, with the loss of someone so dear. Sometimes it's our dog. Sometimes it's our mother. Sometimes it's our beloved spouse. Sometimes it's a sister or a brother. And we know the sadness, the grief beyond words that Mary Magdalene knows. Not only has she lost her friend, but now his body has been taken. For all of us who have lost someone dear, sometimes we get a Mary Magdalene experience. Sometimes we have a time when the person we lost, the person we loved, somehow lets us know he or she is okay. When that happens, sometimes we don't know or recognize that person immediately. And sometimes we do. But Mary didn't. Because something we don't have words for has transpired between the time the stone was rolled across the tomb and rolled away from the tomb. Something has happened that becomes for us the resurrection promise. Something that takes us through our grief, beyond our mourning, into an experience that is something more. I know there are times when Kim knows Logan's here with us. Peter's always telling us that Julian's whispering in our ears. I will meet this summer a nephew I have yet to meet, a great nephew, that my nephew told me he found out about when his father came to him in a dream and told him they were about to have a child. Actually, he appeared to my brother in a dream with a baby on his lap. When my nephew got up the next morning, he and his wife and 9-year-old and 5-year-old were staying in the basement of the in-laws' apartment. He turned to his wife and he said, "Jennifer, how pregnant are you?" She said, "How did you know?" So we know these folks talk to us. If you don't believe me and you've got a day, ask Mary Ossenbaugh to tell you. Because it will take her the better part of a day to tell you. Jesus appears to Mary And she so wants to touch him, to hold him, to feel him hold her. How does she know? When she sees him, she doesn't. But how does she know? When he calls her by name. He says simply, Mary, and she responds to him. We will know. We will all have the experience of resurrection rise. It's ours. It's God's gift to us. It's what Jesus came here to teach us. So may we go forward this day, blessing one another, as the lights we had on the communion table Friday. May we light another's path as Jesus has lit ours and brought us to resurrection.